Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Politz, Director of the Service Leaders Network, a division of the Nationwide Marketing Group. And our division helps support everything service related for the appliance dealers of Nationwide. We're real excited today to have Tracy Janey on with us. Tracy is the National Service Manager for General Electric. We go back a long ways, and he's a great individual, and he's going to talk to us today about the State of the Union for GE. So Tracy, I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Would you like me to start with anything, Mark?
Just who you are, what you do.
Okay, so I'm Tracy Janey, Director of Customer Care. So my responsibility in our world is about 5,000 servicers, independent servicers, about 1,000 dealers nationwide. So pretty big network. I think, as you guys know, we also have the largest factory service organization in the country. I work under factory service, but I have the customer care or the independent servicer network. So the 6 regional managers you may know out in the field, they report to me, and I have around 40 members at our call center in Memphis that handle new service providers, new service contracts, that kind of thing, and help me there as well. So that's my organization and what I do.
Great. Well, Tracy, tell us a little bit about the structure of GE and the independent service network and or self-servicing dealer network.
Well, so I'll start by saying during the pandemic, a lot changed, and probably a lot changed for everybody on this call. We are up about 40% warranty volume versus 2020. So pretty big jump. Most of that increase has happened on my side, almost all of it. The factory service team is pretty much the same size as they were back in 2020. So all of the growth has happened on my side. So between the servicing dealers and between the independent servicers nationwide, I now account for about 55% of the total warranty volume for GE. So when I first started 7 years ago, it was more like 30%. So a lot has changed in a short amount of time, for sure.
Well, I'm sure a lot of that growth is due to the availability of the GE products as well. I know our sales have gone up with GE considerably compared to some of the other brands that are, we represent.
Right. Yeah, I think we did pretty good during the pandemic on parts, although there were some times during the pandemic that parts were an issue for us, about 6 months, where we had really bad back orders, which caused problems as well. But today we're much better off from a parts distribution perspective.
Well, I'd like to let the attendees know that are reviewing or watching this interview with GE that you're open to ask any questions that you like. Feel free to pop those questions into the chat or raise your hand if you like as well. I'll ask a couple of questions. I do want to establish that during this conversation, it's not about discussing warranty rates. That's something that we don't want to do on a public forum. But certainly individually, feel free to put in the chat, and you can direct it directly to Tracy through the chat if you would like for him to contact you to discuss anything like that. Tracy, can you kind of give us a explanation of the differentiation of coverage between independent servicers and dealers and the factory service side of the business?
Well, today it's a little different than it was back in 2020. Today, I have more service in factory service zones than I used to have in just customer care markets. So in 2020, I mostly did the outer banks, right? Everything outside of factory service was mine, was my responsibility. But today, a fair amount of that volume comes from factory service zones. So I am building a service network within like St. Louis, Missouri, Atlanta, Georgia, all those markets. I'm having to build where I didn't have it before. So very different than it was before the pandemic. That's where a lot of that growth is coming from.
Is that due in part to the fact that factory service doesn't have the capacity to handle the additional growth that you've had?
Well, we're pretty much the same technicians that we had back in 2020. So we're still around 1,000 technicians. But think about that, 1,000 techs can only handle so much warranty volume, right? So as we increase 40% warranty volume and sales, all that volume came to me, not to factory service. So really, factory service is kind of reducing their footprint, just not technician wise, but size wise, it's becoming a little smaller than it was at one time. So, and I think we're going to see that. I think everybody on this call will probably say the same. Very hard to find techs right now, even for factory service. It's very hard to find techs.
And speaking of finding techs or hiring or even training technicians, how does that look for for GE as far as their support of independent servicers or dealers, and even factory service about the hiring and training piece of that?
Yeah, prior to the pandemic, we opened up a training center here in Louisville to start doing exactly that, start bringing people in, including customer care or dealers, to do training here in Louisville, but that kind of died when the pandemic hit. So today, we have two training organizations, one for factory service and one for the independent servicers. I have 6 service managers, which we will grow, I believe, next year to somewhere around 8 or 10. But they are responsible for the training in their zone. So if there is a dealer out that needs specific training, one of my team members can help out and do training on that product.
And I would like to mention that this year going forward, we've asked GE and others to provide their training list, their in-person training schedule, and we'll be posting that on our MemberNet Service Leaders Network page under the GE logo, and there you'll find their training schedule. We'll get that updated here shortly now that the spring training round has begun.
Yep.
Another
Absolutely.
question I'd like to ask Tracy is regarding self-servicing dealers. Let's just say dealers that have their own service and they just now bring on the GE brand. What are their opportunities to become factory authorized servicers to service their consumers?
Yep, I think I've hired just last year probably 100 new dealers. So if somebody on this call would like to become a servicing dealer, definitely we will help provide that information and get you set up to run service for GE. Help train you, like you talked about, Mark, on the products. If you need training on specific products, we'd be happy to do that as well. But I will mention from a policy perspective, if you don't currently work on GE, 5 years ago, we made some changes to policies. So for instance, customer education and calls for install issues, we pay for. A lot of brands don't pay for that. So we do pay for customer education and install issues.
And that's a great benefit because a lot of the majority of the other manufacturers either don't pay or have even reduced the term limit for which they pay for those claims. So and I'm sure that as you pay those claims, you probably are getting more accurate information about the call without a technician having to state that the product had a loose wire.
Right. And yeah, I think it also helps, like you said, Mark, we get better data and we're able to change things in the product, like owner's manuals. So things that come up on those customer educations, we should have it in the manual. We should do things to reduce those calls. That's our responsibility. So it's helped a lot with that as well.
We have a question. George Dempsey has his hand raised. George, I believe you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Good.
Tracy, would we reach out to you directly if we wanted to run factory service for GE? You warranty work for GE?
Yep, you would. You can reach out directly to me. I'll get you the person. I can send and in fact, I'll send it to you, Mark. There are all the contacts for the US, so you can send that out as well or put it on your website. It shows where everybody is located in their contact information. But you're welcome to send it to me, and I'll get it to them to set you guys up.
Thank you.
And we'll post, Tracy, if it's okay with you, we'll post your email here in the chat. Kate, if you can facilitate that. And Tracy, I do want to say that we also have some independent non-dealers that may be on the call as well. And George's question would certainly be applicable to those individuals that are independents and don't do sales. So feel free to reach out to Tracy, and he'll look over the territory, the area, and look at the capacity there. And actually, Tracy, I'll ask you to explain what are the things that you look at when somebody does apply to become factory authorized. What are the things that you look at for that area?
We typically, well, if you're a servicing dealer and you're selling our products, we are going to set you up. But we look at how long we've been in business, what other products do you work on, what kind of training do you need, do you use service power, which is what we use to file claims. So we kind of understand what we need to help the servicing dealer to do better. So it just depends. We look at a lot of different things, but we're going to set them up. If they're already doing work for other brands, probably 5 years ago as well, before I got here, they did not set everyone up because we had factory service. So maybe even somebody on this call has been told no before. That'll change because we pretty much say yes to anyone. But we do want to verify that they have done business before, that they work on other brands, and what kind of training do they need prior.
Tracy, a question came in. Is annual training something that GE does in-person training? In other words, do you have your 6 regional training managers roam their territory and conduct training in person?
So during the pandemic, we did not because of the pandemic. We did mostly virtual training. So today we offer both. If you need training, you reach out to the training manager in your region, and I'm certain they can set something up. Depending on the need, it might be virtual and it might be in person. But prior to the pandemic, I think in-person training is the best. And I think my team feels the same way. So, doing the hands-on and being in front of the tech and being able to tear down the product is the best way to train on products. So
I think the majority of us feel that way also, but I think we've all also adapted to virtual training, for both convenience, the time to get training out there for a new product introduction before it hits the market, and just the ability, the capacity for your trainers to get out there and do in-person training. If they can't do it, virtual is the next best thing.
yeah, and to give you an example, there's a new product that you guys I'm sure have heard of, which is the new full-size combo washer dryer. We think that one's going to sell pretty well. So we'll probably do some videos to do some training on it, because it's the same as our front load. The only difference is it has a sealed system on top. So we definitely want to get that training out there, because that's a differentiator from any other product that's out there. So definitely do that.
Like it.
Yeah, very different.
And speaking of technical information, can you tell us a bit about how a independent servicer, whether they're factory authorized or not, can access your technical information?
Yeah, so you would get a hold of one of my service managers, and they would set them up on our website. It's actually through Salesforce. They would be set up, and they can access service bulletins, service manuals, parts lookup. All that stuff can be done through that website, and my team is the one that grants them access to that. So the
And
map I
is
send
there
will
a
help.
fee for that if they're factory authorized?
So there's no fee for the website. There's no fee for TAG, which is the technical assistance group. The only time there's a charge is if the product itself is out of warranty. So we have an out of warranty charge, that's it. But to call about an in warranty, to call about or get on our website, there is no charge for that.
And is there a subscription fee for the individuals or the independents that are not factory authorized, that they could still access that?
Yep. So they can access technical assistance group. That currently the only way they can get into the website is if they have Smart HQ. So Smart HQ is the technical device that we use to diagnose the product. That also has access to our web portal as well. So they would be able to access. That was currently the only way a non-authorized can get access to our website.
Is through the GE Smart HQ.
Correct. Yep.
Great.
Yeah, if you've seen it during the show, we usually show it during Nationwide, but you can get access to our technical information directly from that model number that you plug into.
And I will mention this about the GE Smart HQ, and I certainly don't want anybody to jump off of this session with Tracy, but currently there is another session going on right now, concurrent with this, training on the GE Smart HQ. Keep in mind, everyone, that now that you're registered, you have access to this full video virtual service conference for 30 days after the show ends, which is Thursday. So you've got basically 33 days of 24/7 on-demand access to any of these. So a lot of the sessions that are on here, obviously you cannot, it's impossible to attend all of them. We've got 36 sessions in 5 hours today. You're not going to see them all. But because we're recording them and they're accessible to you after the show or 24/7 tonight in the morning, feel free to log in and look at those videos. And the GE Smart HQ is a great tool, and I can attest to that from my days as a GE factory tech, using what we termed back then was NUFI, which was proprietary to the factory technicians on our factory issued laptops. Is a great tool that benefited us. And ever since then, I had always said I'd love to see GE make that available to the public and in a more user atmosphere. And they've done that with the GE Smart HQ. So please view that session at another time. Also, we do have a question in here. Tracy, can you post the names and regions of the training managers for GE? And maybe you just joined, but the answer to that is yes. Tracy will be providing an updated map and contact list of those regional managers, which we will have posted on MemberNet. We do have it posted now, but it may be outdated. So just after the show, maybe next week, we'll get that information posted up here.
Probably is outdated, by the way, as I talked to you earlier.
Yeah.
2 new people, so.
Again, we're open for questions. If you'd like to either type them into the chat, or if you'd like to unmute yourself and ask a question, please do so.
I mean, we're doing so good, there's no questions, Mark.
Yeah, Arik just mentioned in the chat, we got this tool, the GE Smart HQ, and it is making service and diagnosing amazingly fast. And I could attest to that. So if you haven't had any influence or knowledge about the tool, certainly you can go to the GE website and look for it there. And for also in our membership, in our MemberNet, in the Service Leaders Network page under GE, we have the Smart HQ along with some videos in there as well.
I saw one question come across, Mark. They're asking if we offer Smart HQ to servicing dealers that do service. We do, and there is a charge for it, but there are two charges, one for non-authorized and one for authorized. So the authorized obviously is cheaper, but there is a charge for the tool itself, and then there's a monthly charge for it as well. So
Yes,
that's I have about 4,000 in my service network to give you an idea how big it is. So pretty big presence within the 5,000 servicers I have today.
So out of 5,000 servicers, you have 4,000 users.
I have 4,000 users. Yes,
That's tremendous.
it's incredible. Yeah.
There was a question came in. Someone must have missed this earlier. Does GE pay for customer education? I'll let you explain that again.
Yep. So customer education we do pay for, and some companies say you can only do it one time or within the first 30 days. For us, it's throughout the warranty. So the way I think of it is a consumer calls you in month 12, doesn't matter, it's still under warranty. I will pay the claim. So we pay customer education and we pay any kind of install issues as well, which is another one that comes up where the customer calls and what's really wrong with the product is an install issue. We'll pay that as well. Says, could I give an example of an install issue? You know, for instance, prior to me changing this policy 5 years ago, if you were to go out on a product, let's say for instance, it needed to be converted from natural gas to propane, I wouldn't pay the claim. But today, if you went out there and found that, if you can convert it, that's great. But if you don't, I'm still going to pay you for going out and looking at the product. It could be the installer has to go back and do the conversion. All I'm saying is if there's something wrong with the install, I want you to tell me the truth. I'm still going to pay you for that call. Another example would be on a dishwasher. They didn't put the hose up tall enough and it's causing it to siphon the water out. I'll pay you to go out there and tell the customer that, and that might be their installer going back and fixing it, but at least they have an answer from us on what the problem is. Hopefully that's enough of the explanations.
I believe so. Had another question come in here. A couple of questions are about the GE Smart HQ, but in the light of time left, I'll defer you who asked that question to view the GE Smart HQ session. Again, that is a recorded session you have access to. But there was a question about technicians and training technicians. Is there any interest by GE in becoming involved in schooling / training for new service tech candidates, even if it is by offering discounts at existing technical schools?
Haven't got there yet, but I think we're going to have to. I think it's becoming a bigger and bigger issue in the industry. Today we don't, but it's definitely something we have on our radar on what we're going to do. We may end up saying, bring them here and we'll train them, and maybe we pay for that. So it just depends on kind of which direction we end up going. But today we don't, but it's on the radar for sure. Somebody asked, by the way, Mark, about the install issue before, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to mention, Tracy, Skills USA is a great educational organization with 13 schools around the nation that teach residential and commercial appliance technology programs.
Yep.
Of course, you guys have been involved in that.
Yep, definitely. Somebody asked if an install issue causes a failure of a part, will I still pay? And I would, because I think the customer is going to get stuck in the middle if I don't pay for it. So if by chance, let's say for instance, that one I had before, the drain hose is too low and it causes a failure, we'll still pay it. We'll pay for the failure as well.
Well, I tell you, that is a great liberal policy to have. Certainly, if you're a technician that it's out there, you can have the confidence that you can be honest with the consumer, you can be honest with the manufacturer, and not have any issues getting paid for that claim. So
right, yeah. One thing that may be good, bad, or indifferent, but I'll say it. I know the last one I was on, I said the same thing. damage policy. So a damaged product. So our policy is a little different than other manufacturers. So if you happen to have a damaged door on a refrigerator, for instance, there's two ways that that product can get fixed. So this won't necessarily make everyone happy, but I'd rather tell you, be totally open to what we do. If the consumer calls into our call center and dispatches one of our servicers or factory service, we will pay for that repair. We'll pay for the damage. We'll pay and have it installed. But a dealer, servicing dealer, the only thing they can do is they can get a free part from us, and that would come from their salesperson. But we don't pay the labor on installing that door.
Now, again, if that consumer of that dealer were to call GE directly and create a dispatch, that would be paid in full.
It would, yep.
Okay.
But remember, a dealer doesn't get dispatches, so it's probably going to go to an independent servicer, but we will pay for it. So it's kind of just a little different than some other brands.
Well, Tracy, we're at the end of our time today. Thank you so much for being on with us. You've given a lot of great information. And everyone, I want to say thank you. And again, if you'd like to review this session again, you can do so post-show on the recorded session. So thanks, Tracy. Good to
Thank you, Mark.
Good to have you.
Good to
Bye.
see you too. Bye.